Like cooking, everything has a recipe.
A set of instructions to follow in order to gain a certain result.
Music is no different.
Be it ingredients for a dish, a set list for an amazing show,
Or a release strategy for a successful launch.
these are all recipes.
Hi, we're your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brandon.
Come and join us in our kitchen as we go through the Music Maker's Cookbook.
Let's get cooking.
Welcome to the Music Maker's Cookbook, the podcast where we help independent artists cook up recipes for success in the music industry. I'm Sean.
I'm Brandon.
And we just want to start off by saying that we like you. We really do. We appreciate
We really like you.
We really do. We appreciate the fact that you come in and listen to us. Whether this is your first time listening to us, we appreciate you being here.
Or your last time.
No.
I know. I hope not.
No, come on, Brandon.
But just in case.
No.
Just in case.
Don't put that out there.
Okay, I'll take that back.
I like Brandon less now. I'm just kidding.
Oh, jeez.
He's a downer.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
just just in case.
I am so cutting that out. But no, if this is your first time listening to us, or you've been coming back week after week, really appreciate you giving us your important time of day to talk and grow with us.
Time is scarce, so we appreciate you lending us an ear for a little bit.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we would like you more if you shared this with other musicians or artists that you think could benefit from.
Might like you twice as much, actually.
3 times as much.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great deal.
Exactly.
Limited time offer, though.
So yeah, share it, and it'll grow the amount of liking that we have for you.
I like it.
Yep.
There's a lot of likes going on.
There's a lot of likes going on.
Feels like a Kardashian episode.
It kind of does.
It's okay.
It is.
That's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, yeah. Which Kardashian are you? No, we're not starting off the episode like that. What we are going to do today...
We'll take a quiz after the episode.
One of those BuzzFeed quizzes.
Yeah.
Which Kardashian are you?
Yeah.
No, let us know if you want us to do that, but we're not going to do it today.
Oh, we're definitely going to do it at some point, though.
Brandon. Okay. Well, today we're going to be talking about it's a continuation of our series based off of the book Influenced by Robert Cialdini.
Very nice.
And it is going to be talking about the aspect of liking and how liking someone or liking something can influence you to react in a particular way, be it conscious or subconscious, mainly subconscious. It's a click-run principle. Which
a lot of the time it is, yeah.
Yeah, which we talked about in the first episode of this series, which was 2 episodes ago, so 37?
Yes.
36.
One
of
of the 37.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So check that
everything builds off of that episode. That's why it was so important for us to kind of get click run down, because it really just comes up every single chapter, right? And how quick we process information and make a decision. So definitely go back and listen to that episode if you haven't yet. It's a crucial one. So if you hear us say click run, we're not going to re-explain it. We've already kind of went into great detail with that episode. So, but it's very important to have in your preliminary listen. So
yeah,
definitely go back and listen.
It's going to pop up throughout the whole episode. Yeah. But as I mentioned, the second principle we're talking about last week was about reciprocity. Today it's about liking and how liking somebody can influence you to do things that maybe you wouldn't do regardless. It can be a tool for you to grow your career, and it can be a tool that others can use against you, which we'll talk about at the end.
Yeah.
Kind of jumping in, kind of like a similar layout we've done the past couple episodes. Brandon's been taking phenomenal notes on this whole thing, and I've just been kind of piggybacking and talking about how it relates to music.
I've been trying my best. I listen to it in the car, so I can't take notes. So when I park my car, I write stuff down really quick, and then I rinse and repeat. That's pretty much how it goes. So I try my best. But there's a reason why social media has invented this thing called the like button. It seems pretty obvious. This seems like an obvious chapter, but it's not that obvious, honestly. We like stuff without even knowing why we like things sometimes. Like sometimes people are like, why do you like this? And you're just like, I don't know. I just do. That's kind of like what we're going to be trying to talk about and decipher today a little bit.
Yeah.
And also trying to relate it back to music. What were you about to say?
Well, I was going to say, he talks about in the book about how when the likes go up on social media, it literally activates the part of the brain
that's the reward system of the brain.
That's the reward system, yeah.
Yep. Which is why we fish for those likes.
Yeah. So just
and
simple
the vanity metrics.
Yeah. So just a simple button.
Yep. Takes what? Half a second to click?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why after I know I've done it where I posted something and I've been sitting there waiting like, how many people are going to like this? Is this going to blow up? Is it going to get good? And especially if you're a musician, artist, making your own stuff out there and putting stuff out there, especially if it's a music video you put a lot of effort into, you're sitting around like, are people going to like this? Are people going to share it and see it? There's an anticipation there because it's so important for us to be liked. And when you are liked, you get a certain level of influence around the world around you. So that's enough going back and forth about prefacing this whole episode. Brandon, you want to kind of start off about the first?
Let's talk about the things that make people like people.
Yeah.
Okay, number one, being attractive. Womp womp.
Yeah.
Started off right?
Yeah, this is why Brandon's so likable.
It's not even true.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
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 Yeah, it is. All right, guys, comment that Brandon's attractive, because then there'll be social proof for it and Brandon might finally believe it, which we're going to talk about in next episode. But anyways, being attractive, Brandon, take it away.
You're gaslighting me with like Robert Cialdini's own principles. That's crazy.
I'm using
being more attractive makes you more likable. It's just how we are as humans. We like looking at pretty things, mainly pretty people. And once you are gorgeous, however you come to fruition with that, I think everybody's beautiful in their own way. I just want to put that out there right now. This isn't some shallow episode about how to make yourself more attractive. It's just that we are subconsciously given this trait. We trust people that are more attractive a little bit more. We find them a little bit more maybe knowledgeable sometimes in specific instances, maybe more influential. That's why the book's called Influence.
Cialdini goes into the whole point about how being attractive, how interesting it is of a likeness principle, because there are plenty of studies that prove that the more attractive somebody is, the more leeway is given towards them, towards their authority, towards how much they know, their knowledge, and just how we must psychologically may like them more or less. Now, it's kind of, especially in today's culture, that's kind of a not great thing to say. We like attract people more, but that's another thing that the studies showcase is that once confronted with the information of, oh, you like this person more because you find them more attractive, everyone said like denied it. No, I don't like that more because they're more attractive. I don't, that's not the case. And one of the studies he showcases that kind of showcase that, no, people do like when more attractive people are aware of it is car advertising, where people were shown advertisement for just two similar kinds of cars. One person had a very attractive female model in the advertisement. The other one was just the car. And afterwards, the people that saw the car with the female model commented that the car was more reliable, more attractive, more fast, better built than the people who didn't see it. They attributed those attributes to the vehicle. And that's why advertisement uses it all the time. So we're not saying that, you must be attractive, because there's plenty of other things here, and liking is a lot deeper than that, but that's the science behind it.
Yeah.
Before we get ourselves in trouble here,
we don't want to get canceled, of course, but moving it to more of a musical based thing, I think how we've done these episodes, if you're just tuning in for the first time, is that we've front loaded this a lot with theory in the beginning of the episodes each time. This one, I feel like we could go like hand in hand with being more attractive. How does this relate to music, right? So relating this to more music, it's just about how you like kind of brand yourself, I think, as a band, how you take your pictures, how you're dressed on stage, things of that nature. You can make yourself look more attractive to the musical genre itself, in my opinion. This doesn't have to be like a go out and get plastic surgery thing, but this is like, how can you shift your brand? How can you shift your image to making yourself look more attractive, maybe within the certain subset of the niche that you're in?
Yeah. And another thing he brings up is in a lot of sales courses, they will teach the sales representatives good grooming habits and whatnot, because it affects how they're able to get sales. And a similar thing kind of does apply, as you mentioned, to musicians. If you look the part, if it's a clean shaven kind of thing, like if you're a pop artist and you look like me and you're making pop for college kids or whatever, like that's your target audience, then no, that's not.
There's a conflict there.
There's a conflict there. You need to look the part and taking care of yourself in that specific way. Like for me, my genre is folk, so this all kind of makes sense. But I'm not going to want to have like an uneven or unshaggy beard or whatnot. Just having it enough where it fits within it does get that step ahead. It's that perceived notion of, oh, this person cares a little bit more about their appearance, so they care a little bit more about what they're doing, the whole sorts of aspects of that. So whatever your genre is, kind of finding the points that lead to an elevated appeal based on it. Yeah. And that's also, we talk about it in the past, like being consistent with how you dress and how you look, depending on what your kind of music is. We talk about Taylor Swift, how she does that. That's how she has the eras. And even out off the stage, she's consistent in that kind of dress when she has these certain albums that are released. Yeah. This goes more than just how they look on stage. It also goes to kind of how you present yourself off it in the crowd before and after the show, things like that. It's a pretty large concept, but yeah. Yeah.
This one I can hear people say like, oh, like I have to go out and change how I look to fit a certain way.
Maybe you do.
Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Maybe you make it work for yourself some way, shape, or form. Make it your own brand. Guaranteed, though, you're probably already dressing like how you're kind of influenced anyways. Typically that's how it kind of works. But if you're wearing, I mean, let's take like a metal band, for example, if you're wearing like all light colors and pinks and blues and stuff, usually that doesn't translate super well into the genre. You know, normally you wear darker colored clothes. Not always the case at all, but typically you're going to want to kind of dress the part, you know?
Yeah. And there's a difference between, like, as you mentioned, there's a difference between just dressing as you would dress, and then there is a difference to committing to the differentiator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you are a metal band, but you literally have everybody in your crew dress up in Hello Kitty kind of gear, like you're going hard into it, you're fully committed to the bit. That's a difference.
Great point.
So everything has a scale, grayscale, depending on what's right, what's wrong, and whatnot. So
absolutely.
The starting one being attractive, that whole thing is kind of a hard one to kind of start off with.
Yeah, that one kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But it's still very relevant, I think, to what we're doing, especially if you're going to be in the public eye.
And since being attractive is kind of like music, it's sort of in the eye of the beholder. You know, it's very per person. Yeah. And like not everyone likes your music. Not everyone's going to like the way you look. Not everyone's going to find this person attractive. That also leads into the next point about how similarities also build liking amongst a group, amongst people in general. Yeah. If you are similar to someone in some regard, that does boost the amount of liking that they have for you. It's really easy to kind of see it when you go to a show. Everyone's dressed similarly. They feel like they're part of a group, and there's a camaraderie there. There's a reason there's so much energy in these live performances, because there's that sense of community, of grouping, of I like the people around me because we have this similarity there. And a lot of times they'll dress similarly to the artists themselves. And that's kind of how you can set that. Once again, Taylor Swift, people will dress up in her clothes from her eras because they like her. They want her to like them back. And they are inspired by that. And they have that similarity between it through the clothing. But this also happens between similarities of how people act, the vernacular, how people talk. If you've noticed, whatever scene you're in, people use different kinds of words. So take note of that and make sure that you're not alienating yourself in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, like Sean said, this is a very community-based thing. This definitely goes back to like our ancestors with trying to fit in. This is like a very much somewhat of a survival technique that is like ingrained in our human nature. So relating to other people, I mean, that's just relationship building, like one-on-one. Like typically like your friends, you guys are going to have some liking or some stuff that you overlap on, that you like, that you connect on at a deeper level, then you can trust people with too. Like, I don't want to go into it now, but if you're working together on something specific that you both find very interesting, that similarity between you guys will actually strengthen the likability between you guys. So band is a great way, I think, to describe that, though, is like you have 4 people in a band, 5 people in a band. You generally like the same music. You have the similar goals. I'm like giving away one of the likability points like right now, but like we're gonna come back to it. And but what I'm talking about is being cooperative.
It all
overlaps, right? You have 4 or 5 people that like similar things as you do in a band. Now, if there are some ego things, whatever, that aside, the similarities are there, right?
Yeah.
And you're working towards a similar goal, so it makes it a little bit more likable.
Yeah. As you mentioned, like it's going to bleed throughout this whole conversation. Like if you're in the goth scene or the scene, you know, you're probably going to be wanting to hang around with and having a better time and being attracted to the people that are also within that group, not, you know, the cheerleader or the jock or things like that. And I know there's a bunch of like shit out there. Not going to get too into the weeds here.
Yeah, we're not going to try to get Hollywood on this or anything, you know, like anything like stereotypical or like high school vibes, you know, but it's really well displayed in those situations, though.
So moving on to the next one, I just want to say, if you're watching this video podcast, you see there's some lighting differences that have changed in here. And Brandon, you do a fantastic job with the lighting every time we do these episodes.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
I appreciate your lovely compliment.
I tried emulating it once in my studio setup, and it just, doesn't compete. So.
He hardly tried.
I tried really hard.
You can do a lot better. Did you do a lot better? Did you try a lot harder?
No, I mean for like when we recorded that episode.
You did great. You did great. The lighting looked great.
To this, though.
Okay, well, I don't agree with that. I thought it looked great.
All
I thought your setup looked lovely, Sean.
Well, thank you for the compliment.
You're welcome. That's our next one.
Yeah,
paying compliments.
People like people that pay compliments to them and show a genuine appreciation for
what a surprise this one is.
Yeah.
I mean, like all of these, really. I mean, what a surprise, right? It's pointing out the obvious at this point and how you can maybe use some of this to your advantage. That sounds bad. And I'm going to talk about that in this point, actually. But we're going to talk about that in a second. Because like...
We're going to do this now.
We're going to do
in
it
a second.
We are. Because we have to kind of preface this is that people that pay other people compliments are generally liked and favored towards people that don't.
If it's genuine.
If
for the most
it's
part.
genuine and authentic, that's the point. Yeah. If it's not, that can actually work against you, right? So if you're very shallow about, hey, Sean, well, this is going to be really mean, I guess. Sean, I really like your computer. You know, like that was very, like, if you're watching the video, I rolled my eyes. The way my tone was not sincere. I came up with just a random compliment out of nowhere. Sean's probably like, okay, well, that's interesting, right? So it's not making him like me more.
That's pretty cool. It's a pretty nice computer.
It is a really nice computer. It is. I truly believe that, but my compliment wasn't very genuine at that moment.
No,
right?
no.
So I don't expect Sean to help me out in any way, right? It didn't make Sean like me more. Maybe it makes him question how much he likes me now and how truthful I am on the back end of things, right? So that's the thing, though, is authenticity is key when giving compliments. If you're not authentic about it, you're kind of just blowing smoke up someone's ass, which can work in some instances, especially if that other person has like a kind of like an ego or is kind of like shallow in some way. But those are very specific instances. And this topic is really interesting because like I feel like you can easily manipulate it depending on how charismatic you are and how you deliver things. So you got to be careful with this one, in my opinion, because you lose trust if your compliments aren't genuine. Like people will just get tired of hearing it and be like, oh well, he's just saying that. Yeah. So there has to be actual value behind what you say to other people. Yeah.
Like I feel like a good kind of deep dive that represents this aspect of it is the book How to Make Friends and Influence People. And throughout the whole book, he says like be authentic in your affirmations and lavish with your praise. So it's like if you truly believe in what you're saying and like you want to verbalize it, it can aid both of you, leave both parties feeling more positive from the encounter. Like if someone has an idea and tell them, oh, that was a really good idea. You both gain from it. One, they're incentivized to share their ideas with you more and they feel like, oh, I'm valued. Yeah. So it's that kind of regard where it can really build relationships. Like after a show, if you're performing with another band and you go up and like, hey man, that guitar part was sick, or I can't believe you hit that one note. It's crazy that you're able to hit that high note and like it's stuck. There's no way I could do it. Things like that like I said, build strong relationships. So giving compliments to bands, giving compliments to venue owners or venue staff or things like that. Like, hey, this venue is really, really great. The lighting was spot on for us. Our videos look phenomenal thanks to you. Yeah. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's stuff like that. You're not going into it looking like, oh, how can I compliment this person so that they like me more?
Right. That should never be your intention.
No, but it's verbalizing it when it comes to mind. Because when you do verbalize it, there's most of the time only positive things that can happen from it. Yeah. So,
Let me give a specific situation.
Please do.
The advent of YouTube is phenomenal, but for bands, it's become a little tougher in my opinion, because let's say you have a band like Avenged Sevenfold who is like very rehearsed in what they do live, what they say live. They have scripts down. That means you might have some super fans on YouTube watching your sets before you come to the city itself. Sometimes people like to leave it as a surprise, but there are super fans that want to be a part of every single show, some way, shape, or form. If you use the same dialogue, hey, you guys are the best show we've had on tour, every night, and people start seeing that on YouTube or in other videos on social media, that compliment to the crowd becomes very disingenuine. And is it ingenuine or disingenuine? Disingenuous, yeah. That can definitely harm the value of your compliment moving forward towards other shows and actually probably make people like you a little bit less. Sometimes you're caught up in the moment and people won't notice it. But if somebody's very conscious of that and they're looking for that, that can definitely turn some people off. So you got to be careful with how you give praise and how much praise you give and how you kind of structure it too. Like you can, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that does lead to there is strength to having a consistent show time after time after time that you rehearse and you have the same lines that you say.
Oh, now, totally agree. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
But that's where I think there's strength in having rehearsed multiple things to say that allow you some sort of flexibility, because you don't want to be completely rigid. You want to be able to move and flow with the crowd and then go back to a script if you need to go back to a script. Like if the energy starts lacking or something weird happens, or you just need something to transition while the bassist puts on a new string or something.
Yeah.
It's always the bassist's fault. So that way, having things like, instead of saying, oh, this is the best show of the tour, you say things like, man, we love the energy here. You guys are fantastic.
Yep.
Or just like have a bucket of compliments that you can give and pull them out when it's true.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this front crowd right here, you guys are really getting into it. Come on, everyone, pick up the energy like them.
Yep.
And it's kind of a call to action as well. So there's things you can have a whole toolbox, a whole utility belt of things you can pull out.
Exactly.
So if you are going to go the rehearsed route, which honestly, do it. There's a lot of positives to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we should talk about in our whole live series, but make sure you have a variety of things that you have rehearsed that you can pull from your utility belt to be authentic and in the moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's an absolute skill and an absolute necessity for you to get down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sean, I would say we're working together pretty well.
This feels like the start of like a breakup. I feel we worked pretty well together, but there's other sound engineer around the corner who I think would be I want to make a podcast with, so I'm leaving for you.
Sorry, Sean. And our goals align. It's not me, it's you.
Man, like the authenticity of that, like it's all you. You're the fault.
Yeah.
But no, I took it in a completely weird direction here. But yeah, being cooperative and achieving goals. That's the next thing.
And then we've already kind of talked about that in a band setting.
Like you.
Yeah, exactly. Working towards a goal together with other people and a collaborative effort is a great way to build trust and everlasting relationships. Who would have thought? Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought it.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the foundation of what like local scenes are built off of.
Yep.
And just larger musical communities as a whole are built off of. Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of times these bigger artists in the public light are able to mobilize their fan base because they are able to have them give them a goal to work together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like any big artist, like once again, Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I mean,
tell her fans to do stuff and they'll fucking do it.
Man, it's like I know we bring up Taylor Swift a lot, but she's really the gold standard.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, she's like the best example. And like, it's
Especially
very clear and how we could demonstrate this throughout her entire career. Mm-hmm. It's very clear. That's why we keep bringing her up. We're not like super fans. Maybe me. Maybe like a little tiny bit. But Sean's not. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Because we're still working together to achieve the same goal. I'm so sorry. This is really bad.
You want to start this over?
I'm just saying that I think Taylor Swift is a gold standard for a lot of the concepts that we try to illustrate here. It's just very clear her goals and what she does really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we bring her up so much. We're not just super fans.
Yeah. So. And the music industry is built on people working together and doing things together. This isn't something that you really need to search that hard to try to exploit, which you don't want to do that anyways, but just use, because there's always opportunities for you to work with people, be a go-giver, that make you more likable, make people want to work with you more. I mean, specifically, once again, going back to live, if you're sharing a ticket with other bands, if you include them on your promotional materials, tag them in your posts, do behind-the-scenes shots with them, give them promotional posts that you've created for them to post that talk about the event. Make it more of a full-on event that includes everybody involved, that highlights the venue, that highlights the people behind the bar, that keep things going. Mm-hmm. It's all a group of people trying to make this one big thing happen, make the show, make this event something that people are wanting to come to and want to remember. Yeah. And if you are proactive in getting things done, making things for people to use that help promote them and get their agenda moving forward, then people are just going to like you. I mean, if I was doing a show with somebody and someone said, hey, we made this poster that you're featured on, give us your promotional photo and we'll put it on there and we'll post it over our social medias and tag you in it and put posters around the city and you don't got to do anything about it, I'm going to like them. Cool. Yeah. My band is being promoted to all their people. I don't got to do anything. They're going to put posters around the city before the event and I don't got to pay a single cent for it. Well, shit, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Maybe I'll throw some stuff in just because, now I have the law of reciprocity. I feel indebted. Mm-hmm. But I like working with them because they're not just sitting on their ass and like not doing anything to promote the show. I mean, who's been in the group project where you have the one kid who doesn't do shit?
Exactly.
Do you like that guy?
Exactly.
Be honest with yourself. Do you like that guy?
Yep. No, most likely not, because they're making it a hindrance for you to work with them, right? And this is like one of the situations where it becomes like, oh, it's not personal. It's just business, right? This is like one of those situations where it actually is a little personal because like it kind of demonstrates on like what your morals are, what your character is, how hard you're willing to work on something with somebody else. And this is definitely maybe one of the biggest points I think in music right now, not right now, but just in general, is that the harder you are to work with, the less people generally like you. Like this is very evident in the music industry, very evident. And I mean, any arts, honestly. I mean, unless you're like really, really, really damn good and you're able to expound on other things to make people like you, to make up for this one area that you lack in, which is also possible because there are many people that are difficult to work with, but yield great results at the end of the day. Right. So this is a really big one, I think, for everybody to kind of take heed of, is that being collaborative, but maybe still having some sort of standard for yourself. Like, don't be a pushover, but be collaborative, you know, in your efforts to work with other people. Yeah. Sorry for the soapbox.
No, you're good.
This one's just really important, I feel, just for music in general.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and something that this whole kind of episode also relates back to as well is that people find pride and attach themselves to the things they like. I mean, for us growing up, there was the band My Chemical Romance, and any theater kid, a huge part of their identity was My Chemical Romance. Be it in the way they dress, the music they share. It's a huge part of identities as people growing up. It's something that we can attach to in any sort of fan base. Now more so than ever, people are wearing their fandoms on their sleeves. You got, you know, the anime fandom. You've got the video game fandom, retro game, modern games. You got any sort of music. That's what it is. People want to showcase what they like, so that it has positive effects on them. Because he talks about this in the book, how people want to attach themselves to things that are doing positive so that it rubs off on them, so that they become more likable, they become like they look better. The example he uses is with a football team, when they win the game, like, oh yeah, we won. But when they lose, like, they lost the game. It's that separation, but also attachment to what's positive. And people want to attach themselves to something that's greater. And your music can and should be doing this. If you've got a strong community that you can build up, that people want to attach themselves to because they can represent themselves through it, gives them a conduit to feel important, feel, you know, like they belong somewhere. That's something that you should totally be doing. Now, for the downside of this, people can also use this to their advantage. I mean, there's a history of rock and roll and groupies and all that. Where people just so they can say like, oh yeah, I was with the band, will you know, exchange sexual favors and things like that with the bands and whatnot. So there's that negative side of it. There's also that side of it where, you know, you can kind of get stepped on to be, you are the step to the next step, right? And that person does not repay the favor or does not collaborate in some sort of way in making the effort to bring you along with them or whatever. This is very transactional to them, and the transaction is hidden behind this kind of methodology of cooperation and collaboration. So there is that side of things too. Like this could be used against you for manipulation. And I do want to say too that we have at the end of this that you do have to have defenses to each one of these. This is definitely one that you should be able to defend yourself against if you realize a situation might be becoming that. Yeah, for sure. Which we can honestly dive into right now. I'm good with that. Yeah. So as you mentioned, there's a lot of ways that people will try to influence you to like them, to do things that maybe you necessarily wouldn't. A quick list that Brandon put together of things that get you to like them for nefarious purposes are cults, serial killers, politicians. Like, no joke. Those are like real life examples that can elicit these results. Right? The philosophy of saying things to make themselves more relatable to you. Where it's like, oh yeah, they're just like me. I want to do things, but really they don't care about you. They just want to push forward their own agenda. Exactly. And that agenda is not always a good thing. Exactly. So to get more related, less political and more into how this is what you got to be careful with in the music industry, the ones that we have are like bad promoters. Yeah, that's a very common one. Oh yeah. Very common. Oh yeah. They'll like, you know, after a show, like, oh, your show was amazing. This is like, tell you all these positive things about you, like, oh, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to promote you. I got this one spot that I do a lot of gigs at. You know, you'd be phenomenal there. You'd be perfect there. You guys are fantastic. And like, this guy really cares. He's really hyped about our music. It's just, it'll be $15 a ticket at the door. You'll keep all the proceeds. You just got to buy each ticket for $10. Yep. And whatever you don't sell, you're on the hook for. Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Yeah. Well, I thought you liked our stuff. Yeah. But at the moment, because he's been so lavish with his affirmation and his praise for you, you might feel like, oh, yeah, oh, he works there all the time, 1,000 people venue. Yeah, and he thinks we can fill it up. Yeah, we can totally do that. Well, you might accept it on the spot just because he's so positive, or
very
he might
quick run response.
Exactly. And you might put yourself in a bad deal or a bad situation with a promoter who's just looking to make a quick buck off of you. Because regardless, if you have to sell 100 tickets and you have to buy them for $10 a ticket, regardless of how many you sell, he makes $1,000.
Yep. He's guaranteed his money. You are not guaranteed your return.
Exactly. So be cautious of that, especially if they come up right off the bat trying to be as likable as possible.
And that can be the exact same way with managers as well. I mean, there have been so many different stories about very famous acts. Like, I think it was NWA was a very famous one. I think Queen was a famous one where the manager kind of, what was it? I don't remember. I can't recall. I'm just trying to base it off of some of the movies that I've seen too. But there are definitely countless stories and recaps of managers trying to take advantage of certain bands at certain times of their career. And this is just one of those common ones where, I mean, sometimes you get a message on Instagram with somebody claiming that they're the manager of this person and they're trying to take advantage of you then. So it happens on all levels, regardless of where you're at.
Yeah.
So this is just something to be mindful of and be able to be weary of.
Yeah. Yeah, as mentioned, the promoters, managers, even certain venues will do it for you. If, once again, they make you pay to play. Like, oh yeah, we get 1,000 people here every night, but it's really popular, so you got to pay $200 just to have your spot. You can set up a merch table, maybe, but but you have to pay to play here because we have all these eyes on you. Well, one, that's probably not even a place where you can find potential fans. They're probably there for other reasons if they consistently have a lot of people, for the bar, for other entertainment, or for things like that. So that just could be a bad thing. And two, once again, they're guaranteed the 200. Now, not necessarily to say that's like all businesses are bad because they do that, because they need to make money. They need to be promoted as well, which is why it's really important when you do reach out to venues to showcase how you're going to promote it, what you're going to do to get people in their doors, how you're going to help them, because then you're more likely to get the gig and get the job because you're showcasing that what you're going to do for them. It makes you more likable. But just to be aware of, well, why are they asking this from me? What are they doing up front? Why are they telling me all these things they can do, or all these people they've worked with or whatnot? And then the last one that is huge.
Yeah. Probably one of the biggest examples.
One of the examples ever is labels.
Yeah. Record labels have a serious issue with a lot of this coercing and getting them to like you, or getting you to like them. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, especially nowadays with the new kind of label format where they look for these viral songs that get big on different social media platforms, and they all go after these big artists to get the rights to that song with promises of, oh yeah, well, if it hits these numbers, we'll sign you on for a whole album deal, and you'll have this much money up front, and you'll do all this and do all that. Just give us this song for now, and if you hit the numbers, then we'll be on for you full time. We really believe in your music and whatnot. Well, two things. One, you might not hit the numbers, and then boom, you're just dropped.
Yep.
They don't care about you. They just want that one song.
Yep.
That's what a lot of labels are doing now. That one guarantee of, hey, this song's already popular, so let's just dip our toes in and we'll promote a little bit, but we'll take most over half of the money from it. And
work's already done for them, most of the part.
Yeah, it's already a popular, well-known song. They just got to give it a little extra push. But then also the fact of, even if someone does authentically have that belief in you, they do want to push you, they do want to have that full album with you, they're making these promises because they fully intend on following through. The label is a business. It's a company.
Yeah.
Who works there now may not work there tomorrow. And once you sign that contract, all the people that believe in you, the head of this division, who your favorite band in the world, who wants to push you consistently for albums and albums to come, he may be fired, or he may leave to a different label, and all of a sudden the guy who replaces him couldn't give a shit about your music.
Yep.
I mean, on our Instagram, we have statistics that are posted on that very, very few artists and bands that are signed to labels actually get the amount of promotion and push that are needed to get them to that superstar level. I think it's like 93% of bands don't go anywhere.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, I'll have to double check that. Follow us on Instagram to get the full statistic. Yeah. But it's above 90.
Yeah.
That just,
staggering.
Yeah. That don't get the push that they're promised or that they need or that they're told they're going to get. And there's some things you can do to kind of protect yourself from all this.
Yeah. How do we defend ourselves against this, right? Against our own click run responses, right? Well, number one, when you make a decision, step back and ask yourself if you like the person you're working with. Is that cool?
Like, do you like this person more within this time frame than you think you should?
That's fair.
Yeah. Like, we talked to him for an hour. I really like this guy. I've only known him for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Do I like him more than I would expect to like someone in an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why? Or is this on purpose? Do I just have a connection with them, or are they trying to manipulate me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely helps isolate you from your click run response. Gives you more of a controlled run response, which is something that you should partake in if you can and if you are willing to, which I know everybody is capable of doing that is listening to this podcast, because we have some awesome, very smart listeners. That was a good compliment. It's a good compliment.
That we do. Is that a self-compliment, or is that a...
No, it was a compliment to everybody listening.
Perfect.
Yeah, because I don't pay enough compliments, right? Number 2. Don't sign big contracts for people you'll be working with. Most of the time, you would be working with a company, not the people. That's what Sean kind of just said, though.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But it's the extra awareness of thinking, okay, cool. Well, I do like them more than I would. Am I working with this person, or is there a company or whatnot? Just that kind of extra awareness of the situation.
Yeah. You don't build a relationship with a company. You build a relationship with people in the company.
Yeah.
So this is something to be mindful of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the contract's with the company, not the people.
Exactly. That's the problem. Yeah. That's where the problem lies.
That's where the problem lies. And that's kind of why we push for independent artists.
Yeah, exactly. Just a general tip, I think, if you're able to, like, sleep on it, maybe a couple nights, maybe a night, whatever. This isn't for like signing to a record label contract or anything like that, but maybe just any opportunities that may arise in the future. Some kind of show, some kind of collaborative opportunity. There is the time scarcity thing, right? Where some people might be like, hey, I need you in the studio like right now, or I need you in the studio tomorrow. And you don't have that time to think about that. But that's also like a situation, though, that you should be wary of, too, because like if there's a time crunch behind it, and depending on who the person is and what their credentials are and what their past has been, you need to be able to decipher that very fast. That needs to be almost like a click run response, right? And being able to make that judgment to protect yourself, because you're not always going to have that time allotted to you to make the controlled run approach.
Oh, for sure. Because scarcity mindset, something we're going to be talking about later in this series again, but it's used as a tool to get people to do things sooner on their schedule versus giving you time to actually think it through and process it. So that is a huge red flag. Go back to like the promoter example, where it's like, hey, I'm putting on this show. There's gonna be 1,000 people here. I've got 20 bands who are interested in getting on this ticket, but I think you'd be great for it. So if you buy the tickets now, I'll put you on the bill. It's like, well, why?
Yeah.
Why are you going for now? Like, there's a lot of flattery. Like, oh, you think I'm important? You think I could be one of the better bands out of 20 bands, but you want me to be one of the 4? Oh, it's flattery. But then, wait a minute.
Exactly. And it could be easy to get caught up in that, especially if you're out in the moment, right? So like you need to be able to use some of these defense mechanisms to defend yourself against those situations. I'm just thinking of like just the shitty salespeople, right? like that's just like what's going on in my mind. And then like the shitty like online sales that are like, or the old TV ads, like buy within the next hour and get 50% off. Like they're giving you that time constraint, that scarcity time constraint that's trying to influence your decision and make you make that click run response. And then 2 hours later, you look at the credit card charge and you're like, I kind of regret that.
Yeah.
Don't regret it.
Yeah. So there, and as you mentioned, that's pairing scarcity with the likable principle of, hey, the first thing they do is they try to get you to like them. Maybe they even, hey, I bought your shirt. That's a reciprocity thing, or they give you a gift or whatever. These things all stack up. So the deeper we go into this, there's even more to think about, more to be aware of. But also, as you mentioned, more for you to potentially use yourself and take advantage of in a positive way.
Yes.
Once again,
that is always our caveat, in a positive way.
Yeah, in an authentic way, in a true way, in a way that's not like, I'm doing this specifically so you give me back this thing. Just like, hey, I know this is the right thing to do.
A lot of the time, like we say, you don't even recognize you're doing it, right? That's the most authentic way to do it, is that you don't even recognize you're doing it. You just become good at being likable. And using certain principles in certain ways, right? But being genuine about it.
There's a saying that I say, I don't know if I took it from somebody else, I honestly don't remember at this point, about live sound and live sound engineers. Something that I've done in the past is that when the job is done right, nobody knows. No one's going to give you praise for doing the right thing. people are only going to critique you if you do the wrong thing. If it sounds bad, people are going to come up and tell you like, hey, I can't hear the vocal. But if you're doing a great job and they sound phenomenal, no one's going to come up with
That's such like a mom and dad nitpick too. I can't hear the vocal. Like, oh my God.
That's always who comes up.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you're doing the right thing, if you're working with people and giving them stuff and like helping them towards this, make the show awesome, promote them, showcase them and whatnot, they're not going to be like, hey man, you did an awesome job like promoting us. Thank you for like, you know, no one's going to say that. What they're going to do is they're going to hit you up to be on the ticket for the next show.
Yeah.
They're going to showcase in other ways. And they might be might say thank you for it.
Yeah, for sure.
But like if you're doing a right job, if you're doing it well, no one's going to think like, oh yeah, he totally manipulated me and to making me like him more by giving me free promotion and helping me put this thing together and giving me an extra set of strings on stage and helping this broken cable and talking to the sound guy for me and being like no one's going to do that.
Yeah.
No one's going to think, oh, I'm being manipulated right now.
Right.
Because you're not manipulating them. You're being authentic. You're helpful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good way to say it.
Yeah. Oh man, what an episode this is.
Oh man. This was an episode.
Yeah.
This was a podcast episode.
I think I know why it had some ups and downs. If you like this episode, really appreciate you. Check out some of the other ones. We have a little bit more energy in that one. But you know what? Consistency, it's a thing.
Consistency is key.
Yeah, yeah. Brandon and I didn't spend as much time just kind of shooting the shit as we normally do.
No, we did a lot of like administrative stuff beforehand today.
Yeah.
A lot.
So it took us a while to kind of get into that casual conversation.
It did, yeah. We were definitely in technical work mode. Yeah. And rather than like speaking to you mode. But hopefully it doesn't make us less likable.
Hopefully. Hopefully you like this podcast. Hopefully you like us. How many times can we say that in 40 minutes?
I want a like counter on here, damn it.
No, that takes so much effort for me to
That would take a lot of effort.
Ding, just like it keeps going up. And plus, how funny would that be in an audio podcast? Be like, we've got a like counter in the corner. So every time you hear a ding, the number goes up. Oh. People just listening will be like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, it'd be terrible. Especially if it's like the first person or the first time they're ever tuning in. They'd be like, oh, what is this? Like, yeah, no thanks.
What's going on? What's going on?
So what Kardashian are you?
Oh, I can look that up right now. Give us an outro. I'm gonna look it up.
This is the outro.
That's what you got?
Yeah.
You know what? I applaud you for there's actually there's a bunch of different quizzes for this. And they're all on BuzzFeed. Why does BuzzFeed have there's a holiday version of it? Ooh.
Oh wow.
This is fantastic.
That's hilarious.
Anyways, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. If you got any value out of this and if you enjoyed listening to us talk and you like us, please consider following, subscribing, ringing that bell if you're watching the video podcast on YouTube. It really helps support us and that engagement helps us grow so we can potentially help more musicians. We got some more episodes for this series planned out. We're really excited to talk about. If you want to grab the books, we highly recommend all the ones we talked about today, The Go-Giver, Influence, How to Make Friends and Influence People. And if you want to support us in more ways than just following us and liking this comment, you can always go to our different social media accounts, our TikTok, our Instagram. We post content specific to those platforms multiple times a week that have different insights, challenges, write-up, talk about like different series about different merchandise that different bands make that are really weird. So there's just a bunch of stuff constantly getting thrown at your face. So if you want to get stuff thrown in your face.
Content.
Yeah. It's a lot of it.
It's a lot of content.
But yeah, thanks for listening and thanks for sharing with other musicians. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for bearing with us today. Bon appetit.